All right, looks like it's 6 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. Rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. 1.0, approval of the agenda. Any additions or deletions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, that's made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Kate? Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Passed. Approved, or it's approved. Agenda approved. Okay, do we have any public comment today?
No.
No? Nobody? Okay. Move on to number 5, consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, Tate makes a motion. Anybody second?
Second.
Carmel?
Yep.
Discussion on the consent agenda at all? All right. If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. All right. Passes. Okay, number 6, communication reports. We're going to start with Dan?
Sure can.
Okay.
So, pretty exciting day today. We had the pre-construction meeting, so it's getting pretty real. We're getting close to really moving. Just moving forward, just remember I work for you, so any questions, I'm here to answer them. Open communication. Really excited. So I'm just going to kind of introduce you more to myself, so I'm not this contractor guy from the outside, so we'll be working together. I'm Dan Hemans, grew up in Sauk Rapids, Minnesota, which was a co-op school, Sauk Rapids Rice, so I understand the kind of the towns combining each other, and what goes with each community and how that entails. Construction schedule wise, we had our meeting today. We're gonna move forward. Contractors are all in line. There's gonna be a lull for a while with road restrictions and everything, so we won't see a lot going on. We're kind of finalizing schedules with each trade. We're hoping to start around April 1st if Mother Nature allows. From there, you'll see some earthwork happening outside. Nothing will really happen in school until school's out. Then we jump on abatement, and then you'll start the trades starting to come in, and we'll get all the safety stuff up, temporary walls, and just move forward with construction. We're working, Jesse and I are kind of working, and Sherry on just updates. I'll be giving weekly updates, pictures of the site. We're going to try and keep them on the website. Jesse and I are looking into some video options just to keep the curious people knowing what's going on, especially with a lot of it kind of in the back of the building. Sherry, you were able to see the beginning. Safety is our #1 priority. We have our own safety coordinator. He gave probably, a 20-minute talk to the contractors on how important it is. We reiterated how busy it gets out here for the kids with the pool and the parks and stuff. Just kind of super excited. We have some good news. I mean, from the concept of what this started as with the design to the functionality of what we worked with the design team, I think it's really great for the community. That's the McCray community of all the cities coming together, and the opportunity for all the kids to kind of start school together and grow up rather than like I said, I went to Sauk Rapids Rice, so they kind of mash you together in 6th, 7th grade. Now they'll have the opportunity to be a community, school community, and just moving forward. So I think the voters are doing the kids the right way to go about things. The classroom addition that we originally were looking at putting as an alternate, we decided to kind of hold off, put it out as a PR. I'm waiting on 2 numbers yet, but we originally figured it'd be about 620,000. At the most, I think we're gonna come in at 495. So that was huge. So that real tight bidding economy kind of carried over. So I think at the next board meeting, we'll have all the numbers. We could present that, but that's so awesome. That's 2 extra rooms for more functionality and multi-use when you need them. I mean, they're there. We also had the electrician bring forward some value engineering items that didn't really change quality. It just made more sense on what's going on in other jobs. And they brought forth pricing of around 150,000. So that's huge. That's another amount to add to the budget to move forward. And then one other awesome item is the terrazzo flooring. We had priced and approved at $363,000. And the flooring contractor came up to us with a terrazzo tile alternative. And we kind of ran the studies with the POC committee, had the reps in here for a presentation, had the maintenance team look at it, called some of the places that have used it in the past for longevity and maintenance. And that'll be close to, right now we gotta wait till the patterns get picked and colors. That'll be another $80,000 reduction from that alternate that was already chosen, so that's huge. So, I mean, getting those extra classrooms and everything is just, I'm pretty pumped up. So I hope you guys are all excited about this. And like I said, there'll be a little lull in the action, but moving forward, it's gonna start happening fast. And I just want all these questions to keep coming. I don't want people in the public wondering why or hearing rumors. Bring all the questions. I might not have all the answers, but our design team does. There's gonna be road bumps. There always is, it's construction, but I think if we keep communication going, it's gonna be an awesome project, a fun project, and I'm with you for the next 2+ years. When you have problems, once we open up, I'm here, okay? So that's me, I'm Dan Hevens, and I'm excited for you guys. So thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, Denise, are you here? All right.
Yep, good evening, everyone. Just an update on Community Ed. We're wrapping up our February programming that kind of went into March, so we're wrapping up that flyer. We did finish the March-April flyer. I included that in the packet. And the way we marketed that, we didn't mail it through snail mail, but we put it out on social media. We sent it home with elementary kids. We have an email of about 400 some people, sent it out that way. And then for my 55 Alive classes, I called the area insurance companies to let them know we were offering those classes, so that their clients know them. For future flyers, though, this kind of gave us an opportunity to rethink or at least have a discussion. Do we do more flyers, short amount of time versus 6 months at a time? I think planning is a little bit easier for families, so we're going to do a survey. We're going to find what works best for families and our adult community, just to see if we should do more, 4 booklets a year instead of 3. Because we right now do like January to May, then a summer one, and then September to December. So we were just showing up those times. And then even rethink, like maybe not mail them out, but just use the methods that we've been using this time. But again, I'm gonna hopefully have a survey, and then the advisory council will be just discussing all of that in April and getting feedback that way. As far as elementary sports, the 4th through 6th grade girls basketball teams and boys basketball teams are finishing up. They've been able to do a few scrimmages, but there really hasn't been a lot of tournaments out there. So they're playing some basketball, but it does look different this year. We do have one 6th grade volleyball team that plays in a league at CMCS on Fridays, and that coach is Abigail Kuper. The other big thing that we're working on right now is just summer planning, summer rec, and some of the activities we have for that. We're hoping to have the booklet out in mid-April. We're looking at doing camps the last 2 weeks in May. Being we'll be out of school early this year, we thought that might be just a good fit into summer planning for families. We're hoping to have a weightlifting program, night traveling baseball and softball teams. The big change this year for summer rec, because of construction, everything's going to have to be in Raymond. All our teams are going to be playing out of that. We'll probably still, hopefully, build 3 teams. And instead of being called the 3 tones, it'd be like colors, like green, blue, and gray, and have them mixed. So we're going to have to look at all of that. We might do T-ball in Raymond and Clara City because we can still use this field out here. So we are going to look at having T-ball. We're going to look at doing some games for T-ball at night. I think Debbie has recommended that in the past. Hopefully we'll find some parent volunteers to help for that. So that would be a change too. Along with having all the summer rec in Raymond, we will be looking at shuttling kids from Maynard to Clara City to Raymond and offer that for families. So that doesn't become a transportation issue, being we had to make that big change this year. And then we're going to be in Raymond, we could maybe offer golf this summer too for the kids that want to do that. And then they have tennis courts over there too, so offer a tennis program. Of course, everything's subject to change with COVID, but that's what our plans are right now. We're going to have a summer program, so that'll be fun for the kids and for the families. Any other questions or any questions?
Say, Denise, are those tennis courts in Raymond, do those belong to the school or to the town?
I think the school.
To the districts.
Right.
They're the districts ones in Raymond? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Denise? All right, yeah, thank you. Jim, you're up.
Okay. Most you can read, so I'll just highlight some of it. It's more like hurry up and wait in my job this year. It's I sit here and wait for direction, wait for dates, and then work as fast as you can to try to get that covered. Just an example like tonight, this game I didn't think was going to happen. I've been working, this is the one game I was not able to get refs for at the beginning of the season. I kept thinking, not worried about it, we'll lose some games to COVID and things like that, or the other teams will. And so about the last 3 weeks, I have sent more emails and made more phone calls trying to find refs, and this happened, I think, Friday. I had a group of refs that were trying to get here from Sioux Center, Iowa, Sisseton, South Dakota, and that fell through, and then this was a group of refs that were supposed to be at Bold, but it's we got them covered for the rest of the season, but that's kind of the way everything is going. You'll see in the top there, they finally set all of our section dates, so that's coming up real quick. This is the last week of regular season play. So we have another boys game this Thursday against KMS, and then Saturday against Lakefield, and the regular seasons are done. Potential next week that we could host both, first round both sports, or both boys and girls, depending on how the seeding goes, but there's a chance we could be hosting both. And that's the way it's going to be. All the way up through the subsection finals is going to be, the host site is going to be the high seed. And then they'll come up with a neutral site. It's just too expensive, the section just can't afford to do it. One change this year is that the host site will have to pay expenses. That's never happened before because the section doesn't have any money to pay them because they're not getting any income coming in. If the host site, if we're the high seed and the host site is not willing to do that, then they offer it to the lower seed and so on. Dance was this past Saturday, and I do not have the results, I'm sorry. I was hoping I could get that information today, but that did take place in Montevideo, and we did, every school was allowed to have 50 fans, and they did multiple groups through the gym during the day, disinfecting in between each group and so on. Knowledge Bowls, number 2. Mr. Mocht has just been absolutely remarkable, which I guess I knew that in the past. I think he's a fantastic coach. And the effort he puts forth to make this opportunity for the kids. He has practices at 9 o'clock at night, whatever he can do since we have multiple basketball players that want to be on the team. He works around whatever schedules they have to try to get them to participate. They've had 3 different meets and the regional meet you see is Friday, March 19th. But he is trying it through January and February. He's still having 2 practices a week, and he'll occasionally have a live practice where he puts them in 2 different rooms depending on the number of kids. BPA, still, it's going to be going on throughout the week. This week, everything was virtual for the original competition or the regional competition. If you notice, we did have 28 qualify for the state meet, but then when they decided the state and the nationals were still going to be virtual this year, there was not going to be any in-person. We only had 12 students that chose to compete in it, and that goes on. They'll come in and do their presentations in the library here throughout the week. Math League, Mr. Olson is pretty excited. They finished 4th place out of 6 in the section, and since he's been here, he says that is the best that our math team has ever done. And again, I want to go back to, I think it was last year we debated on not having Math League because we had almost no one sign up, and then he did a little recruiting, and then this year they had the best season they've had. And the highlight was Grace Mock finished 4th place out of 99 competitors. And he said in a normal year, she would be most likely going to the state tournament. And the reason I say most likely, he's pretty sure, but he goes, there's different stipulations each year and so on. So more than likely, she would have been at the state tournament. But this year, because of COVID, they're only allowing the winning teams to take individuals to the state tournament and so on, just to try to minimize how many different communities are getting together. Number 5 there, we were given the draft last week of the spring season. So you see we're starting on the 29th. A week before then, baseball will start just arm conditioning. The 29th is across the board, all 5 of our spring sports: golf, boys tennis, track, softball, and baseball. And then they've said that the postseasons will be done by either the 12th or the 19th. And the reason I said that, it looks like right now tennis will be done the 12th, and the other 4 sports must be done by the 19th. And I believe that's including the state tournament. So it is going to go a little bit longer. The good thing, most of the scheduling, well, softball is in place, and we did not have a game scheduled before the starting date, or before the date we could have the first game. Baseball, I had 1 game scheduled against Springfield, and we're working to move that back. And we want to try to, you're allowed 20. We think that's too much with pitch counts and that kind of stuff. So we're going to shoot for 18 games. I'm working for 3 more, but those schedules are real close to in place. Tennis, there's not going to be many changes. Now again, tomorrow we're probably going to get all the rules and regulations on masks and what procedures we have to follow and fans. And since I said that, we'll probably get it tomorrow. That's probably not going to happen because they say that, and then next week they give you some more, change it, but we'll start to get information. Track and golf are going to be the challenging sports for me. I do not have it, the schedule's done, partially because we haven't known what we're going to do. We have multiple meets in place, but we do know they're going to change what we can have. We can either have 4 or 5 teams. And if you have 4 or 5 teams, depends, if you have a girls team and a boys team, that's 2 teams now. And so we may have to have different track meets for boys and girls. And again, this is just all what they were telling us last week. Nothing set in stone, and most of us were confused by the time they got done talking about track. What we do know is our meets of having 9, 10, 11, 12 schools that meet is not going to take place this year. So we're going to, these schools that have usable tracks, they're going to be busy. And golf, it sounds to me like depending on what your course can handle, how many holes you have and so on, they're going to leave that up to how you can spread the people out on the course and so on. So again, not a lot of rules are known yet, but that's kind of the way that's working. As soon as we get this, I'm sure by the end of the week, we'll have all this, our schedules in place. We did not compete in one-act play this year, as I said in the last meeting, but Aubrey Ross did choose to move on and still have the one-act. And what she's doing now she's offering to the kids, and she's got 2 different groups, a blue and a green group, and they're going to compete against each other. So this week she was looking for judges to come in, and she's going to have them both do exactly the same presentation and have their own competition. Or I should say presentation. They're going to each do the same play. And we are right now working on what we're going to do for musical spring play, something like that. We're talking about it, after this is done. And the last one, this number 7, not positive about this. These are the dates that I had, and they were in red because they're up in the air, but large group and solo ensemble. I don't know that both of them are taking place or what we're going to participate in, but that was tentatively the dates, and large group obviously did not happen today. So did they extend it? It's something I don't know yet, but I'll report on that next month. And then page 2, you guys can see the numbers and the percents of people we have involved with the individual activities. Not to mention, we did put the last 4 years of percent by grade. So obviously, if you want to look at last year's 7th grade, that's this year's 8th grade. That's the only one that really dropped off, and I don't have a reason for that. Last year we had 40% of 7th graders participating. This year we had 19%. I do know a little bit of it. You know, there were some kids that were distance learning. There were some kids that just said, I'm not going to do it if I have to wear a mask when I play basketball. But I don't know that it's that large a drop because of those things. So that's all I have for you if you guys have questions.
Yeah, say on the One Act, it says the performance will be on Saturday, March 27th. Is that, no one's allowed at that performance?
No, we're going to allow family. We haven't figured out because we allow certain tickets for ball games and things like that.
Okay.
So Aubrey and I are going to kind of work out what she wants to do, and we're also probably going to recruit Jesse and not do it on the Pix-A-Lot because we don't have enough control. That didn't work well for our dance meet because it zoomed in on the coach's table at the bottom and we could only see below the knees in the back row of the dancers. So we're probably going to put it free on our YouTube channel, but there's some rules we have to follow through copyrights and things like that. So it would be, we would have to give the link, and then after the fact we'd probably shut that link down just so it's not out there forever.
Okay.
But we're going to allow some people in. We don't know the details on how many and who yet.
Good.
If you guys, like I say, as board members interested, just shoot me an email, because we'll have a list of people that do, just like the way we do it for the sports. People email me and text me and call me all the time and ask to be put on a list to see if we have room.
All right, anybody else have a question for Jim? All right, thanks, Jim. Now we'll go on to Judd.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. You can, when you look in the back, you'll notice that I believe there is a return to my traditional format of an update for you where I talk about student, staff, and parent support and those kinds of things. So I'm not going to cover everything. I do want to highlight a few of the areas. Last bullet point in the student support, I did come up with reading core applications. They fantastic resource for our K through 3 students. This year we did not have a reading core tutor that applied and was able to stick at East. We have had somebody all year at West, but I did apply for both sites again just to make sure that we had that out there. And hopefully we can find a qualified candidate that wants to help out and earn some incentives for themselves or their family and take care of those kids. So excited to get that taken care of. Under the staff support, we just wanted to, Bruce, bring to light that again, I'm at the time of the year where I'm analyzing section needs and those kinds of things at both sites. So I'll have more information on that as we progress. Under the parent support, I wanted to highlight the newsletter that I'm considering doing. There will be some iteration of it. I just don't know if it's going to be a monthly, just based on elementary, if it's going to be a quarterly one that maybe is more district-based. But once I get the logistics of that figured out, and I have a really slick program called S'more that makes it really visually appealing and easy to insert the information, and I can get an email from somebody and just insert that information right in the newsletter. So something like that should be coming. Excited about doing that. Testing season is upon us. Begins on the 16th, so next Tuesday. Big, gigantic thank you to Katie Hess for helping out with getting that taken care of. The only thing left to do is I have to buy a bunch of mints because we can make sure that the kids get mints to keep themselves alert while they're taking the test. And then a couple things with this is we have to make sure that we're meeting and accommodating the individuals who are distance learning and providing time for them to come in. A letter has gone out to the families of those 3 through 6 students to make sure that they have that information. If we haven't heard from them by midweek, we're going to start doing some cold calls on folks and make sure that they did get the information and that we take the time to set it up with them. Also, the state's being super flexible. I did see some information that came out, I believe it was either Friday or over the weekend, from the state that says, with possible quarantining and those kinds of things, that they're going to keep the windows, they're going to extend the windows, because normally you're locked in for a certain amount of time. Our window would be March 16th through April 23rd. They're going to say, you know, if you need to quarantine, we're going to extend that out for everybody so we can make sure we get everybody tested. And then the last thing I have for you is not on here. It's just some information of a seminar, not really a seminar, it's a session I attended from the Office of Higher Education. It's a state-run organization, and every 2 weeks they have a highlight of a new initiative or a new program that they want to talk about. And the one that I attended was on food and housing insecurity. And you think, okay, well, it's college, what does that have to do with us? Well, when we're talking about getting our students ready to go to college, they're seeing some alarming trends, because the students who went through when they kept referring to it as the Great Recession. I always think of it as when the housing bubble popped in 2006 and 2007. Most of those kids were probably between 4 and 10 years old at that point, and so they went through that time of their lives where family was affected by this recession that we had. And then now, when they're in school, now we have COVID and the financial impact that has brought upon them and their families. So some of the information that I just wanted to share with you, they estimate that roughly 62% of college students are food or housing insecure at this point. That's pretty alarming when you think about the reality of being in dorms. And they refer to it, it made me laugh when they said it, because having gone through it myself, they said we romanticize hunger in college, and they referred to the ramen diet. And that's where I chuckled, because I'm like, yep, I remember those Saturdays where I didn't have any money, and I had my 15-cent pack of chicken ramen that I had to heat up with my illegal warming kettle that I had in my room. So, it's things like that. They said that college-age poverty is on the rise, and they say that the majority of these students, it'd be 50% Pell eligible or students of color make up who these students are. And they're seeing an increase in students as caregivers, and that's really because of COVID and the health impacts that have been happening. They also, something that just absolutely smacked me in the face, they said the cost of housing is predatory. And they refer to some areas of Hennepin County are actually rent-wise charging as much as in Seattle, where you've got all the tech, especially Amazon is huge in Seattle right now. So that's alarming to me. Meal plans don't cover all the needs. Something that as soon as I got off the session, I contacted Sherry about this, and I said, this I never even thought of this, and I can't believe it. I said I was a little bit ashamed. But you make a donation to a food shelf. Kids have access to the food shelf. College-age students have access. And we donate canned goods, and somebody very, very abruptly said, what if people don't have a can opener? Okay, how many of us take that for granted? That somebody who is going to be in need of food, of course they have a can opener. It's in their kitchen. Just something, and I said, well, okay, now I know that I'm going to need to make a little bit of a mindset shift, and if I donate canned goods, I'm going to make sure it has a pop top to it. Something as simple as that. I think Sherry said, or even just make sure you donate a can opener with the canned goods. Absolutely. And one thing they said is that institutions, kids, college-age students realize that the institutions aren't responsible for it, but the institutions are responsible for making sure that students have access to the information. And there was somebody from the University of Minnesota, they said, yeah, we made sure that we put in a special navigation section so students could access some access to finding food resources. But then they realized that navigation was so difficult that they had to create a navigation for the navigation. And so they said this glacial movement of higher education institutions, they showed that through COVID, things can be sped up. And so as a predominantly student-led push, they're encouraging colleges and state-run agencies to make sure that they're promoting this information to students. And the last thing, though, what I want to end with is, while they realized that the institutions didn't create the problem, they want help to support and themselves. And really, they're saying that skills for financial literacy is really the big problem at this point. And Sherry and I've had multiple conversations about that, and just making sure that our students have access to that information and know how to be financially responsible is super important. So just wanted to highlight this for you and let you know that it's on our radar. And I think it's important to make sure that when we have kids leaving our doors, when they walk out for the last time, that they're able to access those resources so that when they're in college, they can have as good an experience as possible and focus on their studies instead of trying to worry about where they're going to get food.
Okay. Thanks, Judd. Anybody have questions for Judd?
First of all, thank you for bringing that up. I live with it every day with the families that I work with, and you're right on the money there. That food insecurity is huge right now, and housing, especially with the eviction moratorium that's on. Give it another 3 months when they lift that moratorium, we're gonna see more homeless families than we've probably seen in eons.
Yep.
And whatnot. Same thing with utilities, and then
And-
there's moratorium on that.
And they said one thing that I forgot to mark it on my sheet, that there's almost a sense of shame for 18-year-olds because, you're able to vote, you can go out, you're an adult, but if they don't have these skills, the shame comes from feeling like they have to ask for help. Like there's somewhat of a failure, no matter how good of a student they were in school, that they still have to ask for help. So if we can take that stigma away and give them that financial literacy, that's a big step.
Same thing with housing. I don't think a lot of the kids realize that their credit score, whether it's no credit score,
Mhm.
really affects that housing application as to whether or not they're gonna get in for some decent housing. So, and the prices are just as high. You're looking at $1,200 a month for a decent spot in our area right now for 2 bedrooms. So it's crazy. It's crazy. So I just have a question about the parent support newsletter,
Yeah.
the platform that you're using.
Yes.
For all of our families and parents who are, English is not their first language, does it have the ability to translate into other languages?
Currently I only use it with staff, so I don't have that answer.
Okay.
If necessary, when it is published, I'd be able to run it through, we found, I believe, a cheaper translation service that we could run it through and be able to import that then.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
There's no more questions for Judd. We'll go on to Melissa.
Good evening. Just piggybacking off a little bit of what Judd started out with, one of our parent support pieces that we have for parents, of course, is Infinite Campus. And, it's been around for a while. We've used it for a number of years now. But I think sometimes because we've used it for so long, parents get kind of complacent about it, or kind of, we need to give reminders to parents about how to use it. And so when we have conferences in-house here at the high school, we always have somebody here in the library that can help parents with their Infinite Campus portal. That's something, of course, we weren't able to do this year because of COVID. We did all of our conferences virtually. But I just wanted to remind you as a board what the portal is used for. It's used much more extensively at the high school than it is in the elementary, although it is used for some things in the elementary. But you can look up, parents can look up anything from, how much is in their kids' lunch account, to what their grades are, to what their assignments are, to any of the kind of alerts that we have for school, like we want to, if we have a COVID update and we want to send them an alert to go check out our website, or if we have a school closing, it all comes through Infinite Campus, through the campus portal. And sometimes if parents think they got missed, it could be that when they originally signed up, maybe they signed up to receive their notice via email, and now they've changed email accounts, for example. Or they set it up just to get text messages, now they have a new phone number. And so that is one thing that the parent can go into the portal and always modify their profile and change how they receive notices. But if they have any questions about how to do it, all of our office staff know how to do that. So any office secretary could help parents adjust that profile so that they could make sure to be receiving the notifications that they need from the school. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. Also, we can do things like to change the timing of when we release things to make it more convenient to parents. So for an example, we know that grades are always fluid, and so we had been running at the high school our missing assignment alert to parents at 4:30. But that's right when teachers are ending their day, so we're finding that the instant alert was going home, and then the student would get home, and parents would be saying, hey, where's that assignment? And the student would say, well, I turned it in. So it was happening at the end of the day kind of thing. The teacher was grading right up to the point they went home, and so, knowing that grades are fluid and assignments are as fluid, I made the adjustment and pushed that instant alert back 1 hour. So now that pushes out at 5:30 instead of 4:30. So we give teachers fully up to the end of the day to get those grades done, and so that hopefully the assignment alert is more accurate than it's been. So we can do all kinds of things like that with Inside Infinite Campus. The rest of my part really has to do with kind of the end of the year. We're at that point where it's hard to believe it's March, and our quarter ends on the 10th this week. We start fourth quarter already this week, so it's hard to believe we're there. One of the things that's an action item later tonight talks about service learning, and I didn't want to make this decision at the February board meeting because I wanted to see, or present this to you in February. I wanted to see how conferences would go and what feedback we got from parents with regard to service learning. But the feedback we did get from parents is that it has been a big struggle for them to get service learning hours because of the COVID pandemic. It's been very difficult for them. I have to really admire these seniors that have been reaching out and saying, what can I do, because it is so hard to be, because we're more isolated now because of COVID. And so when we looked at where students were at and with their hours that were turned in and based on parent feedback, I would really appreciate it if the board would consider reducing the amount of service hours required for graduation from 80 to 60 for this year's seniors through this year's ninth graders. So basically, in effect, we didn't have anybody have to do hours this year due to the pandemic. So that is an action item for you to consider later this evening. Monday school began last Monday. Super excited about Monday school. Monday school gives students the opportunity who didn't pass first semester to have a chance to receive additional support, have an opportunity to pass their first semester of classes so that they're not as far behind when we go into the next school year. So this is one of the fantastic things about the 4-day week, that we're able to utilize that Monday for the benefit of the students. So right now I have a licensed teacher, so our math teacher, Ashley Larson, and then 2 paraprofessionals, Lori Olivier and Deb Burgess, who work with the students. And the students work hard. They are here to get their stuff done, and they're getting a lot of help. And it's all managed by Lori Olivier. So I applaud the 3 of them for helping and for our students for attending. And our plan is, once students finish up some of their fall semester materials, as students drop out, of bringing other students in. So yeah, we have students that are struggling second semester, currently right now, that could benefit from Monday school. So if we could get them in now, they would have the support they need and hopefully pass this semester and not need to roll into summer school. So we're off to a good start with Monday school. The Lions Senior Awards Night is held at the end of this month on Monday, March 29th. Due to following COVID protocol, it's going to be an award ceremony only and not a meal. There's a lot of COVID rules that apply when serving a meal, and it was safer for us to just make it an awards program. And so we're doing it that way. Each senior will be allowed to have their parents, will be able to socially distance everybody and follow the protocol there. I'd like to thank the Lions Club for their hard work, and they're the ones that solicit all the donors, and I'd like to thank the donors for all of the scholarships they've given over the years. Grand March, we've changed the date of Grand March. The original date was April 30th, and we've moved that to Thursday, May 20th. We moved it for a couple reasons. One was the cold weather in April, the chances of cold, rainy weather, and the thought was if we moved it out to mid-May, we'd have a better chance of better weather. I also think Jim was pleased to hear that because when you see how late spring sports are starting, he can gobble up that April 30th date and use that for a sporting event on that night. At this time, it's going to be a Grand March only. And again, everything is subject to change. But plans are still to be determined as we wait for further guidance. So right now, we have very little guidance on prom and graduation. But what we do know is all things need to be approved through the Southwest West Central Service Cooperative, MDE and MDH. And so there's a lot of protocol we got to follow and make sure that we get everything done correctly. Graduation is same as scheduled, Friday, May 14th at 7 p.m. Once again, plans will be determined as we receive further guidance, and all of us hope that that guidance comes sooner than later as we are needing to plan that now. I will tell you that I had, posed the idea to the seniors of, depending on how the COVID guidance are, if holding it outside on the McRae football field. And it was interesting to me, they said, even if the guidance changes and we could go back in the gym, could we still have it on the football field? And so they like that idea, and I'm not opposed to that. So we'll see what the COVID guidelines, where they lead us, and we'll see what the students want, and we'll go with that. So, and lastly, plans are underway for summer school at the high school. One of the things I do I have a faculty meeting twice a month. And on the week opposite of the faculty meeting, in a sense, it's kind of like a PLC that I've added here in this building because we have that additional half an hour of prep time. So I take one of those half-hour slots and have them talk about different things to improve, how can we improve, what can we, that kind of thing in school. And so they've been working on their last 2 times on summer school. They have a lot of unique and creative ideas for summer school. We're looking at exploring opportunities in addition to credit recovery, which is what we would usually look for, but also some opportunities for enrichment. So I'll give you an example. Right now, Mrs. Zondervan is exploring the idea of running a class in Spanish for enrichment. Would it be more of a Spanish reading class, almost like a Spanish book club, which I think would be fantastic for our high flyers that want that additional enrichment in the summertime. So we're looking at the benefits of both credit recovery as well as enrichment in our summer school program.
May I just add that we've also talked about transportation for all kids to be able to get to this, and feeding, right?
Right.
Breakfast and lunch, or depending on when it is, so.
The teachers are very enthused about this, and they've got some really creative ideas. So I'm excited for what they've put forward so far. So, anybody have any questions for me?
I was just going to ask on the Mondays. I love that idea of the Monday school. How many kids are coming?
We have around 20 right now, and the first week, I don't know today's attendance, but last week on our first time, everybody that was invited, all but 3 showed up. So it was excellent. We also keep one Google Meets open too for those that can't make it into the building, but they can attend Monday school virtually. So that's also an option as well.
So we don't provide transportation then, or?
Not for the Monday school,
Okay.
no.
I think you were trying that as a pilot, weren't you?
I was trying to pilot this and see how it's gone, and so far it's not been an issue. But if there wasn't the transportation, we would definitely not have that be a barrier.
There's no more questions for Melissa. We'll bring you up, Jerry.
Did you say hurry up?
Bring you up to.
I thought I heard you say hurry up.
No. You can hurry up if you want. It's your choice.
Okay. Jen and Melissa and I gave our reports tonight with the intention of respecting our speaker last month, Stephanie Vogel. She kindly gave me her script from last month and said, Judd, would you please cover the questions of parent support, how do we reach out to parents, and distance learning parents. I asked Melissa to talk about Infinite Campus because that was something that she mentioned. And I just want to talk, and I know I once a week try to get to you about information, but the 30 minutes was an important thing she talked about, and I have reached out to many, many people. Sounds like the 30-minute prep for distance learning will end when the executive order ends. I've reached back to Stephanie and Kayla. They had some other questions, and I've already answered them directly, but I just wanted you to know the answers as well. Some of the schools, I was going to comment on Melissa's the Monday classroom. Some of the schools went to a 4-day week when we went into distance learning. And so they have that 5th day as their day to prep. So they didn't need to cut off time. So a lot of schools really like that because they have the flexibility to do that Monday learning. So just trying to get through some of the things that she talked about in her letter last week. We have our calendar. That was another thing she talked about, our calendar. I think a lot of times people maybe don't know all the parameters that surround building that calendar. And we did want to get it out earlier this year because of the very reason that school is ending a little earlier. It is on our website. And I also want to say, as a result of some of the things she talked about, and Kayla talked to me after the meeting, we have added a school board tab to the website. Just school board, not under district. Click, 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 school board. So Jen, who usually sits in that seat where Judd is tonight, has been just awesome with helping us get our website a little clearer, a little more useful. There, you will find you can go there and you can see school board, and you can see all the minutes, you can see all the agendas, you can see board members, board member contact information, and then we also have a new tab that is building project. I think I want to change that to construction. And every Tuesday we change that and add something new to that. That was another thing that she talked about. You can see the legislative information there. You guys all get MSBA information, so I don't have to go through that. Dan, I just have to think what your name was, that guy over here. We do have some Trazo samples here, and I forgot to bring them down, but we'll get them out here next month. But they're just beautiful, beautiful. The Trazo, and it's made in a different way than it used to be made. They've done San Diego Airport. Many colleges and universities are using this type of Trazo now, so it's beautiful. Negotiations, you can read about that there. And the last thing I have is we just got late this afternoon the results of the Minnesota State High School League voting. The vote passed, get this, 418 yes, 12 no. So all the information about the State High School League, we put in here just to refresh your memory from last November, September, October, when we had the surprise of the huge cost. So there will be additional school superintendents now on the State High School League, and I think that answers a lot of questions. It will help in the future for no more financial surprises like we had last fall. Any questions?
All right.
And McCray was a yes vote, by the way.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. All right, committee reports. That's you and me, Carmel. You want to go ahead first?
Sure. I think the biggest thing that we've been talking about is the addition of those 2 classrooms. And I know through the course of our planning, we've asked ourselves many times, you know, where is an area that we could see growth? Where do we want to see growth? And I think the preschool, the littlest learners, is the one we keep coming back to for that. I think about myself when I went to kindergarten. There wasn't any preschool of any kind, and by the time my sister was going to school, there was Head Start, I believe, and not everybody went to Head Start, and you know, now we have 3-year-olds that go to school all day long. So I think that's an area that we just really feel like we need to have the space to expand. We'd like to expand the preschool as much as we can. Those rooms, of course, the preschoolers need the most room. The lowest student to teacher ratio happens in that preschool area, and then along with that too, the special ed for preschool also increases space needs too as it goes along. So other than that, we have not had a POC meeting for a few weeks, so.
Right. Well, Dan, you made the comment too that we're gonna be able to get those classrooms based on your bids that you've got coming in. Their numbers came in really good.
And the board's approval.
Yes, right. Plus, those classrooms give us the opportunity to, if we got a really large first grade group or something, and we need 4 classrooms, we can move things around and have some flexibility there, and then, maybe we need some after school or before school childcare or something. So we've got lots of ways to use those classrooms, so I'm glad we were able to get those in. That's going to be huge for us. So they won't be unused, that's for sure.
So that's something that, Dan, I don't know if you wanted to add any more, you already talked about the budget for it, but that's something that we'll be bringing to you as a board in April.
I gotta pull on some strings and get those last couple numbers.
Yeah.
Check some things, but yeah, it's looking very promising.
Okay, good.
Presented.
Can we ask, like when you do bring it, if you bring us what was projected, what came in, and what the changes are, so we could see all 3 of those different finances or amounts that way?
Yep. And a lot of it is we kind of prepped for like the air handling units and stuff were kind of sized in case it did come about, so that did help out, but I can dive into that more for sure.
Be great, thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to 8 business items. 8.1 is a motion to approve the April board meeting ahead 1 week, or to move the April board meeting ahead 1 week to April 5th.
I'll make that a motion.
All right, Lane. All right, do I have a second?
Second?
All right, Carmel. All right, any discussion on that?
May I ask why?
Ask Lane, he's the one that
Oh,
requested.
we did this last year too, just because of when farming starts, and it's a request, it doesn't have to pass, but I'm pretty sure we did it last year too.
Well, it might be an early spring too, so.
Or this may make it late.
True, yeah.
Or a rain day, but.
Okay. All right, well, if there's no more discussion, all those in favor, say aye.
I
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. All right, 8.2, motion to approve policy 802, disposition of obsolete equipment and material.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Deb makes a motion, and a second.
Second.
Wayne?
Sure.
All right, discussion on that? I imagine this is a standard procedure for getting rid of old stuff, right?
Exactly, and we're encountering old stuff and stuff that hasn't been used for a long time, so this is another bring to the front for everybody's knowledge, what we can get rid of and how do we get rid of it.
Okay. All right. There's no more questions?
I just have is the revision date, we've got it 2019 on top of this one, but if we've made revisions, should it not be 2021?
On the red line you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would change that to 2021, for
Okay.
sure.
I think that's when MSBA
Yeah.
updated it.
Oh, I thought the
Because I
red,
pulled
I
these
thought
off
the
of
red
MS.
was our,
No, these
that's
are the
MSBA.
MSBA
okay,
changes.
okay.
Okay. Let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, motion carried. All right, 8.3, motion to approve policy 805, waste reduction and recycling. All right, do you have a motion?
I can make the motion to approve policy 805.
Okay, Carmel.
I'll second that.
Okay, Deb. All right, any discussion? No discussion, we'll vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, 8.4, motion to increase preschool fees for the 21-22 school year. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
All right, Wayne,
Second.
second by Tate. All right, discussion?
I'm just thinking, I'm not so sure, have we talked about having the district pay for more of this? I mean, it is definitely a way to get kids into our district and whatnot, and the more we raise the fee, the less we're gonna deter the families, and I'm already hearing from families that the cost is a barrier to some families, and we don't have enough scholarships to cover that, so, yeah, just wanna share that, so.
What is driving the increase? I mean, is it just based on our numbers or what's going on there?
I think we just thought, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look. Kim was able to go to some other districts and find out what they were doing.
Okay.
I totally think this is a philosophical thing that I think we should probably spend more time talking about. I know, Elaine, I've heard your opinion of preschool in the past. I don't know if you want to share it now, but.
Well, I always want to make it free, so
Yeah.
I, of course, made the motion to increase it, but one of and I've changed my thought process after visiting, different people about is, sometimes it means more if you got skin in the game. And if it's free, sometimes it's maybe taken, I don't know if it could be taken advantage of, but I feel that having a fee for it, especially with licensed teacher and what you were putting into that program, that's a top-notch program. So it's only gonna get better when we get more room for it, and so I'm looking forward to it. And I haven't had anybody talk to me about it, but either way, so I can't answer that question. But I think if we get the kids here, we got a good chance of them staying, and that's always been what I wanted.
And if the board, it's looking at how can we get revenue. This is a difficult thing. People don't pay. We try to get scholarships. It's very labor intensive. And I don't know if the board ever wants to have the discussion about offering free pre-K. As an educator, I know how important it is to get 3-year-olds in. As an educator, I know how important it is to get 4-year-olds in as much as possible. I think we've got some 3-year-olds that come just a couple times a week because parents can't afford it or parents can't get them here. So, we're just looking at, just like we always do we increase prices of meals? Do we increase prices of preschool?
So do our preschoolers, we don't provide transportation for that?
Yes,
We do.
they ride the bus.
They still ride the bus?
Yep.
Okay.
They get on the bus, yeah.
Okay.
What was the increase? We increased our expenditures by about $90,000 last year. What was that for?
It was that I used, the year before, some of our school readiness money. I used that instead of tuition, to offset some tuition, we offset some of the expense. And then the next year they said, yeah, that's probably not the best way to do it. I mean, I keep, the guidance on which way to use that keeps flip-flopping, and so it skewed the numbers a little bit, but basically the gap is what keeps happening, the difference, the gap. Because school readiness money is in there either as an expenditure or as a revenue in every year. They just changed which way we should try to use it.
But our expenditure should be the same regardless. So what was the 90,000 increase in expenditures then?
Because I had been using school readiness against a teacher's salary, and then they said instead,
Oh, so we
use
don't-
it
Okay.
to, offset some of the, yeah.
So we don't have a gross expenditure for what it's costing us for the preschool program, then we've got a blended fund.
Yeah,
So could we see the gross then, just to figure out where
yeah.
we're at and whatnot? And how many numbers, are we increasing with numbers, or are we decreasing, or where are we at with numbers, or?
I'd like to take a deeper look at it. Right off the top of my head, I'd have to look at what our numbers are, but if you want us to take a deeper look as a board,
Kim and I surely can do it.
I just thought that would have maybe helped us in the decision-making tonight. Are our numbers increasing or decreasing, or if they're decreasing, that would make me think that maybe there's a reason why, and can we find out, is it because of the cost, or whatever it could be.
I see what
you know.
you're saying, yeah.
And I think from this year, some of it is maybe due to COVID, you know.
Oh, yeah.
If you have a 3-year-old on, well, we just won't do preschool till next year, whatever it is. Yeah, I think it could be that, but I was thinking the last time we looked at this, and I can't remember for sure, but I feel like we decided to keep it the same. We didn't increase it the last time we talked about it. And then we just made sure we had certified staff, so, yeah.
I'd be interested to know what it does cost us to.
You'd be interested in
Interested to
what?
know what it does cost us to run that 3 and 4-year-old program.
316,503 for
What is
last
it? What
year.
was that?
It's the number from last year is what it cost us.
Okay.
And if we had kids not attend, then did we make adjustments with staffing, so we didn't have as much staff then? I mean, again, that would be dependent on what that enrollment was, if it went down, or did we lay off staff, or reduce hours, or?
We couldn't last spring. We weren't allowed to.
But then
At
we would have
first.
used COVID money to pay for it, correct?
Not last spring, we didn't have COVID money yet.
March?
I'm just looking here at the numbers of some other schools charged.
And we have 4 million in our reserve, correct?
3.
Well, I thought you said last meeting we had 4.
I said last meeting we had.
Or a couple meetings ago that we had 4 million in our reserves, correct? Is that?
Well, I thought
I
it
didn't think it was
was
that high.
2.5 or 2.7 or something.
For the reserves from June 30th was like 3 point something million, under 4.
Okay.
That fluctuates throughout the year.
The schools that have the free preschool, that was a program that they qualified for correctly, right?
Free
Yeah.
VPK?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a grant, wasn't it, a
Yeah.
few years ago, Debbie?
Yes.
A grant, and then some schools got it, some didn't, some applied, some didn't.
And is that forever?
Sure seems like it.
Okay.
Well, and the other part is, good for them that they got it, but
Yeah.
if you're a school that either didn't write for it or didn't get it, then what, you're out forever?
Right.
That's what gets me about it. Did you never have another chance? I mean, we tried it, didn't we, Denise, a couple of times to get, free VPK here. And it always, whenever there's a little money, it goes back to the schools that already have it. Doesn't it seem like that, Denise?
You know, we're still on the lower end of the
Yeah.
thing. It's not that we jumped way up, but.
I think it's good, Debbie, to ask the question, would you come? What I really wanna know is the 3 and 4-year-olds that aren't coming, why aren't they coming? I mean, we know the ones that are coming and not paying the bills, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of them.
Yes, would it matter if it was free or not, is what you're saying. Those people might still not be sending their kids regardless.
I think that comes down to economics right now, and I think it comes down to the child care crisis that we're facing in our rural area, that there are no providers, basically, that can take a lot of children or families, you know, at this point in time, so.
Because when it was set up, it was at the local daycare provider rate, if I remember right, when it first started. So Sherry, are you thinking you want us to table it and research it a little more? Is that what you're kind of saying?
You know, we put it out here to ask the question.
Yeah.
And when you made a motion, I figured you were making a motion to start the discussion.
Yep.
Because, right, we gotta get a first and a second that we can discuss.
Yep.
I guess my my response as an educator is I'd, now that we're talking about it more, wanna know more about their opinions as to why. It's like Carmel said, if we get kids in here, that's just good for them. And let's find out what their situation is.
And how do we identify the families who aren't coming?
I know,
That's the input we need to have. Why aren't you bringing
exactly.
your child, you know?
And how do we find them, like you said, where are those 2-year-olds right now that we don't even know?
Right.
And to even ask them the question.
And maybe it's something we need to push the marketing on a little more too, saying, hey, we have certified teachers as our preschool instructors. We give them, throw some data, I don't know, maybe that's something we need to look at.
Because you do hear the neighboring school districts on the radio, advertising.
Denise, do you know where those 2-year-olds are? I'm serious.
Go around and see what I can find. Well, we kind of delayed opening up a registration based on what our rates might be. We're hoping to, do the marketing now that, enroll in our program, and part of that is to let them know what we're charging. So, so in some ways, it'd be good to get some decisions made in that area.
I think another thing, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I think another thing just to think about, there's a lot more providers that are joining what's called Parent Aware. And that is where they're actually doing curriculums within child care centers and whatnot. Now, it's not by certified teachers, but it is curriculum based and whatnot. And so that to me is our competition. And so I think we stay somewhat equitable for that, because then you've got that extended care. Your child doesn't have to ride a bus. You drop them off in the morning and everything is done under one roof. So that's kind of an easier way for parents many times to drop off children that way too, so.
As going way out there, but what you just said is that with our additional classrooms down the road, that's something we could, then it's daycare again, and probably don't wanna go down that road, I suppose.
I think there's enough we can use those rooms for without doing daycare.
Yeah, but I mean,
But school age care, I think would be huge. That's exactly what Stephanie was talking about,
Yep.
If we had school age care now, the issue of 3 minutes of prep time for distance learning wouldn't be an issue, because those kids would come here at 6 or 7 in the morning and they'd be picked up by their parent at 4:30, 5 in the afternoon.
That's what I meant, the school
Yeah,
age.
okay,
not-
school age care.
Not the little
Yeah,
baby infants, but.
it's care for kids that are school age before and after school.
So other question I got, just say this motion fails, and somebody makes a motion, okay, let's charge $1.75. Do you think that would bring more kids in? I'm just asking the board as for discussion.
That is what, I guess I've heard from a few parents that the cost has been prohibitive, so, but not a lot. And those are ones that are already sending kids. Now, I don't know if those are families that are paying or not paying or whatnot, but that was one of the things that they did share, so.
If I could add a little bit, at the beginning of this year, I believe 3 of our 4 classrooms, please feel free to correct me if I'm in error, but 3 of our 4 classrooms were pretty much ready to roll. We had one that was lagging a little bit, but those numbers, I believe, have increased. One thing we have to keep in mind too is we have that 1-to-10 ratio, and maybe an error referred to as, I referred to as soft cap, because the previous district I worked in, we had a cap, because when you have students who come in who are in the early childhood special education program, you have to find room for them to fit. And so trying to keep that 1-to-10 ratio in mind, sitting right around 18 students gives us a little bit of flexibility, because Billy Lindman does have a number of students who come through that have referrals for special education. So our number, it's not like our numbers are falling off by any means. And at one point we were actually talking about the potential of adding a section of preschool, just based on the way the alignment was happening, but things have been functioning just fine this year. So I'm not speaking to dollars, of course, but by and large our program's still running strong.
It would be nice, maybe next meeting, if we could get just to where we've been at the last couple of years with numbers, because I know we've changed some of the, how many 2 days a week, or, we've changed some of our options and whatnot, but If we could just get that maybe for the last couple of years, that'd be great. Maybe to mirror the funding that we've got listed here.
How critical is it that you know this number now? I mean,
Yeah, Denise would be the one.
Well, we would like to open up registration for next year. And we usually have said what our cost is gonna be, so that parents can make a decision. One option would be to stay with the rates this time with the understanding that we're gonna get more information for, next year.
I was gonna suggest that, maybe Denise, we are basically the least expensive school on this list, except for the free ones. So if people aren't being able to afford McRae's rates, they're not being able to afford the other ones as well. So if there's people out there that aren't sending their kids anywhere because they can't afford it, it'd be nice to know what those numbers might be, although I'm not sure how we're gonna find that out, but. So I think, leaving it as is, one way of thinking is we're not doing any more harm, than we have been, and we'll maybe buy us some time to look at this a little bit deeper and see what we want to do. Because we'd have to make up, what was it, 127,000 in expenditures there. Money's got to come from somewhere, so we'd have to decide where that's going to come from. So the other thing is, could we offer more scholarships? How do you determine scholarships? I mean, where does the money have to come from, a specific source?
That is not my area of expertise.
Okay.
Whose area is that? Just
Comes
that
from
yours?
pathways. It's some dollars, it's not a lot.
But we have an option with those dollars, correct me if I'm wrong, Denise. We can pay for staff time, but right now from our last community ed meeting, I thought the last time I asked, you said we're only giving out 2 scholarships annually.
Well, they go by $7,500, so you get 2 of them to equal the 15,000.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't cover the needs are, as far as scholarships.
But I had also asked if we have that 15,000 and not everybody needs that full amount, if we could add more families into that mix. And I think when we looked at the language, wasn't it that we could not? Does that ring a bell or?
No, it's really pretty
Christina's
tight as
helpful.
to how you can use that dollar, so it's really for 2 families or 2 children. But Heather would have a lot more details on that.
That'd be good to
How the
maybe find out, because,
scholarships-
if we could maybe use what we're putting into staff time, and I don't know, maybe that'll bring the staff expenditures up, but if we could use those scholarships for parents, maybe that would be, have an impact on the revenue side then. I remember we looked at it a while back and we talked about it, but,
I wish there was more scholarships out there for families.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah.
And we do get school readiness for 4-year-olds, so that helps some. Those families.
I guess what we're seeing, Julie, in response to your comment is that a lot of families who probably can't afford this, the children, there's absolutely no consistency or structure. They're maybe going to grandma one day, aunt and uncle the next day, sister the next day.
Right, they're not
That is
going
just
to
not
daycare at all, right.
what those little ones need for best learning, and so if
Yeah.
there's a way that we can help support that, I think that'd be great.
So then again, if this motion fails and somebody makes another motion, is it gonna be for keeping it the same? Are we gonna lower it 50 cents or $1 lower, or are we gonna? Because for Denise, we need to, have some, numbers for her, so.
do we need a motion if it doesn't change?
Just leave it as is then?
Leave it as
It would
is.
just stay as is,
It
right?
would just stay as is, wouldn't it?
I don't know, that's what I was wondering, if we had approved it every year, I don't know.
You only approve it when we change it.
Okay.
So if it fails, then it stays the same, so it's something.
That's what we've done in the
That's what I
past.
wanted to know before we went to vote, or,
Yeah, yeah.
move forward after this.
I just also want to add that, maybe we should make it an effort as the next months go on. It's not going to help Denise now, this will give Denise guidance, but maybe we ought to look at for the future. 1, could we afford preschool? 2, give us a chance to survey people, to really go digging to find those 2-year-olds and those, there's 3-year-olds that we don't know where they are either. And to hurry up and do it so we can have it ready by April, whatever that date is, we're meeting 5th or whatever. Maybe the thing to do is to now decide something, but to give it a really concerted effort to have some good information so that next January, by next January, instead of doing it right away at a meeting, we have some good information.
I like that idea.
Debbie, what do you think about that? I mean, I know it's a long time to wait.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait either, but I also don't want to rush to hurry up and think I found, 22-year-olds, and the rest of the 3-year-olds.
And that's what I'm wondering, if we dropped it 50 cents, would it make any difference? Would we, those people that still can't afford it, can't afford it? I don't know, Deb, you maybe can answer better if that's.
I don't know, I think we have to do that survey or get input and find out what exactly the reason is.
Well, maybe if we leave the rates the same and we do a little marketing push and try and find some kids, maybe we'll make up the revenue difference in kids that enroll.
What do we get for the Pathways Scholarship schemes? Do you remember? Was it 30,000 or does that sound too high or?
Well, there's two, there's Pathways 1 and
1 and 2,
Pathways 2.
yeah.
So,
We get Denise on the radio, a couple times a day.
we want kids to
Yeah.
come late.
Yeah. No, seriously though, I think we should get radio ads out there. So if this motion fails, I'm fine with it. It stays the same.
But maybe also in conjunction with that, we can take a look at the language in the 2 scholarship programs to see, is there a way that we can help families? And maybe it's not just 1 or 2 families, but how can we ease it a little bit for more families?
I also think that, and I don't know who's low listening here, but there was a time I was trying to help a junior girl find a prom dress. And some money for shoes and some flowers and some jewelry. And I went to a group at my church and I said, would you adopt a girl for prom so she can go to prom and have a nice dress? And they said, what do you need? I said, I don't know, $75, maybe find a used dress and some cheap carnations. And that group of women said to me, and I'll never forget this, when we knew we had a function and we knew there was somebody that was going to benefit, that group came up with $175. And that girl got to go to prom, and I think my bottom line for this story is there's a lot of people out there, if we could match them, what about some donations? What about adopting a kid? What about donations? There's people sitting on some money out there that if they just had a goal.
Well, if they just knew it existed.
If they knew somebody
I was just
had,
gonna say
there was a
that.
need.
Right before you said that, I said, there's church groups, there's people that want
Yes.
to donate money to school, but they maybe don't want to do it to sports. Well, if they just knew there was a niche, maybe they would buy into that. So maybe it's just a matter of promoting the fact that we could use some help with our preschool or 3 and 4-year-old programs, if people are looking for a place to donate.
It makes it a lot more labor.
We all know we need to work on this, make it kind of a priority for us to get this figured out. But, okay, let's vote on this motion to increase preschool fees for 21-22. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Nay. Okay. Motion does not carry. Anybody else want to mention anything on that while we're still on that topic?
May I?
Sure.
Debbie, if you're okay with it, I'd like to reach out to you and have your help in coming up with the kinds of things that could go into a survey and where we go to find, I know Denise would have on census information or some of these kids might be, but
that's what we use for preschool screening, is a census data.
Yeah.
But if we have a new family that moves into our district, they wouldn't show up on the census data. So I think there's some families we're not aware of.
and one of the questions I'd ask is how can we reach out to you, because no offense, Lane, but not everybody listens to the radio.
Yeah.
Saying,
Okay, 8.5, motion to reduce the service learning graduation requirement for the classes of 2021 through 2024 from 80 hours to 60 due to the COVID pandemic.
I will make that motion.
All right, Deb, is there a second?
Second.
All right, Scott, I'm gonna give it to Scott. Okay, you ready, Pete? Is that right, Pete? Okay. All right, let's have some discussion on that. I guess we heard what we needed to hear, maybe? All right, let's take a vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. All right, looks like we're at the end. So that Monday board meeting will now be the 5th of April. May 10th and June 19th. All right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, Deb, second.
Second.
Carmel. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. All right, we're adjourned.